trauma and healing lives with our hosts, Rima Nashashibi, founder and president of Global Hope 365, and Dr. B, Dr. Estera Borska, CEO and founder of Teach, Train, Transform International. Did I get everybody's names right here this morning?
That's right. Thank you for the warm welcome, Paul.
All right. Sorry the music wouldn't play for us here, but we'll put that in later for everybody here. Got a great topic, a continuation of what you were talking about last week, right?
That's right.
Yes. So my name is Rima Shibi, founder and president of Global Hope 365. And again, joining me today is my co-host, Dr. Estera Borska.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So today we're going to continue our conversation, Dr. B, about something that every parent, grandparent, teacher, counselor, and frankly, every young person with a phone needs to understand.
That's right.
Which is sextortion. But we're going to make the conversation beyond simply defining sextortion. We're going to talk about what happens after the threat, the shame, the fear, the anger, the secrecy, the trauma, and what happens when the brain goes into survival mode, correct?
Correct.
All right. So before we talk about that trauma, let's make sure everyone understands the crime, which is sextortion. So it occurs when someone threatens to expose a person's intimate or sexual images or other sexual material to force that person to provide money, additional images, sexual activity, or something else of value. And the numbers are staggering. So in 2025 alone, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received more than 50,000 reports.
Wow.
Absolutely, of financially
Absurd.
motivated sextortion. An average of 137 reports every day.
Wow.
From teens. So that was up from more than 36,000 reports in 2024. And financial extortion is frequently targeting teenage boys, and crime syndicates got in the mix too. Offenders may create fake profiles, convince a young person that they're communicating with another teenager, obtain an intimate image, and then suddenly the conversation changes, right? Pay
Absolutely.
me, or I'll send this to your parents. Pay me, or I'll send this to your school. Pay me, or I'll send it to everyone following you. And suddenly a child or a minor or a teen can feel as though their entire life is collapsing. The U.S. Department of Justice reports that more than 40 teenagers in the United States have died by suicide.
It brings in that state of hopelessness. It's awful.
Yes. So they've died by suicide, folks, as a direct result of financially motivated sextortion. So 137 per day, 50,000 reports, 40 teenagers who committed suicide, 1 in 3 of children experiencing online sexual abuse in UNICEF's 13-country disrupting harm research told no one. So 1 out of 3, they tell no one what happened to them. And that could be most probably because of the deep shame, which we will talk about, correct,
Right.
Dr. B?
I was going to say these statistics are staggering, and it doesn't even take into account all of the ones that did not report, because this is a crime that is not reported as much. Most sexual acts or crimes are the ones that are least to be reported than any other abuse.
Right. And 2 out of 4 child survivors of online sexual exploitation are more likely to self-harm or experience suicidal thoughts in that research.
Yeah.
And 4% of children experiencing sexual extortion who reported it to the platform where it occurred, according to research. So only 4% have reported it to the platform where it occurred. And talking about those platforms and how they're almost non-responsive
Right.
is a different story.
Right, or don't take your report as valid.
Yes.
How many times does it happen? I know I've reported things and they come back as to, we didn't see the sexual content in that.
Oh boy.
Yep.
But let's bring it down to local. So Orange County and human trafficking data. So in the years 2023 and 2024, 50% were minors. Out of the total number of human trafficking victims, 50% were minors compared to the 2021 report. And the increase from 36 to 50% is mainly due to sextortion.
Because of the new age social media and online, how much time children and young adults and teenagers spend on their phones. So that's not a surprise
No.
that it went up.
Yeah, and the
They got all of the crime syndicates got smart. They know that's where they are.
right, and
Yeah.
14 is the average age of minor of sex trafficking victims in Orange County, and the ages range from 6 years old to 17.
Wow.
Can you imagine a 6-year-old being exploited, or any child being exploited, and or a sex trafficking victim? And 88 of all victims were sex trafficking victims also. So in my experience with working with survivors and their families, shame, blame, anger are big components of the trauma, right, Dr. B?
Huge.
Yeah, their responses to it and how it impacts their life for generations to come. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What kind of trauma do minors go through as victims of sextortion, and how is the trauma transferred to the family? And how do they cope? Separately or as a unit?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because once extortion happens, it really defies the entire family, because there's a lack of trust. There's so much shame that happens with, these crime syndicates, right? Because they really are. They're really sophisticated crime syndicates who reach out to these children online and try to extort them for money or for all these different matters, and also to lure them into sex trafficking, like you were saying. And so when you get to a kid, right, just coming from a neuroscience standpoint in our brain, our children don't have a full functioning brain, right? So you mentioned the ages 6 through 17 is the ones that are being targeted. Our brain is just it
These
doesn't
are
have
the victims
yeah, the victims.
in Orange County.
Isn't
In
that
the
amazing?
years 23, 24, the average age was 14, but it's from all the way from 6
All the way
to
from 6 years
17.
old. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just from a brain science standpoint, their little brains don't have the full function of the prefrontal cortex that deals with logic and reasoning and decision making. So it's very easy to be kind of lured into that, manipulated, right? And also then to feel the deep rooted shame that comes along with it, to saying I did something wrong, as opposed to just making the translation logically. I fell for something, I did something wrong. They think there's something wrong with me. It becomes an identity shame crisis where I'm a bad person, I'm bad, so I can't share this with my parents, because now that is going to impact how they see me, and I'm a bad kid, I did it. So they take on the shame and the guilt of it all, and that's where it becomes difficult, because then it cuts the trust between the parents and the family and the entire family unit. So they have a very difficult time being able to share with their families how they feel, because they're afraid now. And the most staggering thing ever, one of the most impactful research studies I've ever read, said 99% of our behaviors are rooted in our sense of identity. So when we hold deep-rooted shame, it impacts everything we do. The way we get up in the morning, the way we talk to our teachers, our parents, our families. And so it starts this deep wound as a kid when they go through something like this. And like you said, it leads to self-harm, to suicidal thoughts, to that sense of helplessness. I don't know, I can't do anything with this, and I don't have anyone to share it with. So they internalize that shame. They internalize the pain and the hurt. So it impacts not just the child, but the family as well.
So thank you for that, Dr. B. And I know we have new people watching us every time. So can you give them a little bit about your background so they
Sure.
understand that you talk from a place? So.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about my background. I came in this field as a really young woman. My youngest client was 3, my oldest was 89. And one of the deepest,
And you're a neuroscientist.
yes, one of the deepest things as, coming out of my master's program at USC, one of the deepest things I looked at was wanting to understand the human brain and wanting to understand trauma, because the deepest impression I had was, why are people so stuck? Why are people not getting over trauma? How are people going through just decades of just hurt and pain? It impacts every area of their life. We're doing something wrong as a psychology, mental health field. And so I wanted to go on this huge journey to figure out why, and really figure out what the human brain says, how we hold trauma. And that's basically what I found out in my journey to figure out, is that it doesn't matter what place you come for in life, or like how old you are. What really, the trauma impacts the way we feel about ourselves, and it impacts the way we view the world. It changes our internal lens, and also our survival mechanism, right? Those old survival rules.
Thank you. So this is the part that troubles me, Dr. B. The perpetrator doesn't just possess an image of that teen or child. The perpetrator weaponizes the shame, right?
Absolutely.
And so I've seen international research into online child sexual exploitation and abuse has found that about 1/3 of the children who experienced online sexual abuse told no one. So we come back to the initial question.
Yeah.
How can they tell the parents? How can the family respond to that trauma?
Yeah. And,
Deal with the shame of that teen.
right. And it goes back to a deeper question, right? Which is how these children are vulnerable and exploited in the first place. And a lot of them, one of the most important needs that we have as children is for our parents to feel like we can go to them with things, right? Welcome my coming to you. And so as parents, that's something really like deep in the relationship with your child. It's more than just asking a question, or it's creating the environment in your home that your child can come to you with hard things. It's how you respond when they tell you difficult things, because usually children won't share because of the relationship they have with the parent. Sometimes they feel like I can't share that because I'm highly criticized in the home. My parent is too busy. They got too much going on. There isn't that relationship there where they share hard information back and forth, where they feel welcomed. So that's the first thing, right? We have to think about history and relationship. But what parents can do is create that environment, that welcoming environment where they have this discussion with their kid. This is a prevention issue.
Right.
Where you have these conversations with your children.
As a way of prevention.
Exactly.
That just like we say stranger danger in person,
Right.
in the park, so on and so forth, there's also danger online. So if you have that honest discussion with your kids and with your teens and say there's dangers online, and if anything, God forbid, anything happens, please feel free to come to me. There'll be no shaming, no blaming.
Ding, 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 ding.
Let's
exactly.
work on it together. If there's
Exactly.
if your internal alarm goes off and you're not sure, come and ask,
Yes, that intuition, because children, before we feel logic and reason, children have deep intuition and like they either detect threat or they detect safety. It's important for a parent to kind of normalize that for a kid and say, if your intuition's going off or you feel like something is a threat, anything makes you feel uncomfortable, please come talk to me, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Dr. B, would you like to take, shall we take calls as they come in, or shall we wait until the bottom of the hour?
Either or. I mean, we're kind of just going through this. So why don't we just, maybe let's wait for another 10 minutes until we get to question time.
Okay.
Or if there's a question that came in, we're welcome to take it.
Sure. Okay, it appears that there is a question that came in.
Awesome.
So let's go for that.
A question came in from our social media. So a person has experienced the trauma and he is ashamed of what he went through. The question essentially is, how can he approach his family?
Okay, great.
We're thankful.
That's a great question.
We're thankful to that teen that he
Yeah.
trusted us enough to ask that question. So that takes courage.
Yes, absolutely. and it asked the opposite question, right? We covered the parent part, so I'm glad that question came in at the right time, so that we can cover that part. I think the important thing that that you can do, right? Just speaking to this audience member and this kid, probably teenager, is to say, don't allow, it is not about you. It is important for you to separate and break apart from those people's brokenness and how they caused and did
You mean
that.
the perpetrators?
The perpetrators who put you in that difficult situation, and realize it is not your fault, right? It is the way, it's the flexibility in thinking of talking yourself through that and say that I must get help. I must talk to someone else about it. It is not about me. This is not my fault. And the dangers of all of this is that usually you get bamboozled, right? They put a picture of someone who is similar age as you, someone you think is attractive. You want that attention from your peer. That's interesting, and you didn't do anything wrong, and it's not your fault that happened. And so my recommendation would be
To talk to a
someone.
safe,
Talk
to a
safe
parent, a
adult.
guardian, a teacher, a
Yeah.
safe person.
Absolutely. And I believe everyone, everyone should have therapy. We need to retranscribe all the hard things that happen to us. And so that's the reason why therapy works, right? Is because you get to sit with someone who is outside of the family, who you can really trust and have that open conversation with, to just talk about how it's impacted you. Because usually there's a lot of pain and loss related
But
to
first
this.
they talk to the parents.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then as a unit, they can decide
Correct.
we need to handle that trauma together, right?
Yes.
How to get out of that trauma. But again, another question which falls on that topic. Why is shame such an effective weapon against a young person?
A beautiful question, because
Thank you.
yeah, I love that question, because that's literally the epitome of what I do and what I've learned,
Okay.
is that our sense of identity impacts 99% of our behaviors. That's how we hold trauma. A lot of people think we hold trauma just as events and places, but we actually hold the people who wronged and hurt us. I call that the skeletons in the closet of our mind, and I've
I
mentioned
love
that before.
whenever you say that.
I know.
Say that
Yes,
again.
the skeletons in the closet of our mind. It's
Okay.
basically, I created this activity called this because I realized that people don't hold trauma just as the events and situations, but the skeletons in the closet of our mind, which are the people. So if you have a child who's experienced trauma at home from a parent, for say, and so if we hold different type of traumas throughout their childhood and try to process each one, it's kind of endless.
Okay.
And it's exhausting and difficult to do. And that's what I find
Okay.
that clients have. And it doesn't capture the real hurt.
Okay.
But if you deal with the person, for instance, their mother or their father or the person, their main caregiver who did those things, then it combines it all together and allows the brain, right? Because we have our brain, basically our hippocampus, and the way it holds memories, it groups them together. Like, analogy I like to use a lot about the brain is that it's like a filing cabinet. When intrusive traumatic things happen, it goes to the wrong cabinet. So what we have to do, what good trauma work is to bring it to the right cabinet. So when we do the person and work on the skeleton in the closet of our mind, the person, it helps reorganize all the memories related to that person.
I see.
And you separate yourself from it. Hence, you have to separate from that person's brokenness and realize it wasn't my fault,
I see.
right?
I see. It wasn't my fault. Okay.
It wasn't my fault. The shame part, it's hard to get out of shame because it's like when you think one thought,
And that will give you a release.
That
It's
will.
almost all this weight,
That we've been
emotional
carrying.
weight that you've been carrying.
yes.
What a relief to get rid of it.
Absolutely. And I think that's why I answered my question. It answered my question of why people are stuck for 20, 30 plus years, because
How
we
about
carry
40 plus.
40 plus.
years?
Exactly.
Okay, can we sign up for that exercise?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. Now it's called neural memory modification trauma therapy.
Okay.
And I want anyone to reach out so they can do that work. And I'm starting the official research on it so that people can join me. I'm looking for educational partners and all of that too. But,
Okay.
this idea of holding deep shame and our identity is distorted is really hard, because I had a client who, when she was a young girl, Her mom had some severe mental health issues, and so she would just take off for weeks at a time. And she remembers, she has this core memory of when she was a little kid. She would stand in her driveway and her mom would take off, and she could watch her tires roll away. And she said, Dr. B, in that driveway, I told myself, I am nothing. My mom doesn't love me. She felt that sense of abandonment. And she told herself, I am nothing and I'm not good enough. And so she told herself that over and over and over again as a kid. And so the danger with that and how it becomes a part of her identity is it starts a neural pathway in the brain. So probably when it started, when she said she was about 8 years old. And so that neural pathway started in the brain. I'm nothing. I'm not good enough. And as she said that over and over and over to herself, that pathway strengthened. And now it became a belief system. And so as an adult, she struggled in her marriage. She struggled with substance. She struggled with all of these different things. And it was because now she believed that about herself. It became an automatic thought. So that deep shame turned into the identity.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you were able to walk her through.
We're able to separate her mom's brokenness from her
Got it.
and help her acknowledge the truth, because the lie was, I am nothing.
Okay.
The truth was, my mom was struggling with some severe mental health issues and she didn't have the right help, but that wasn't about me and it wasn't my fault.
Got
And
it.
that truth kind of set her free. So it's
Awesome.
separating the identity and realizing, as a kid, it was very easy for me to
Okay.
believe that. But now that I can apply logic and reason and truth, I can separate from it.
Okay, so I want everyone, every parent listening to hear this next part based on what you said. So when a
All
frightened,
parents, listen up.
when a frightened child finally tells you what happened, your first response matters, right? It shouldn't be, why did you send that picture, right? Right? And it shouldn't be, oh my God, how shameful is that? Why would you do such a thing?
Yes.
What should it be?
That is so, so, so important, right? Because it's very easy in the shock of it all, parents and their own traumas and their own shame of feeling like, what will our church think about that? What will our community think?
Yes.
How would this show on the family? And so sometimes all those thoughts, their
Right.
own traumas come up, their own fear about how
I see.
others will show, will cause them to say the wrong thing, to continue that shame for their kid, or say the wrong thing, or say, how did you do that? Why did you send that picture?
Okay.
How did you allow that?
Instead, what they should say is, I'm glad you told me, right? You're not in trouble. We're going to deal with this together,
Perfect.
right?
Perfect.
So the Department of Justice specifically emphasizes that these children are victims. They're not wrongdoers. They are
That's right.
victims and should not be blamed, shamed, or ridiculed. So a question for you. Psychologically, what difference can that very first parental response make? And what happens when the child's greatest fear, the fear of being blamed, is confirmed by the parent's reaction?
Shut down. Shut down. It makes the child regret their decision to tell. It makes them feel even more hopeless and helpless. And it's probably one of the main reasons that leads to suicidal ideation and to self-harm, because they feel helpless. It's basically what, in psychology, there's this term called the self-fulfilling prophecy, which is basically like, if I think it, it will become. So we look for evidence in the world that we're not good enough. We look for evidence in the world that it's our fault. We look for evidence, our brain will scan for that. It's like the red car theory. Have you ever heard about the red car theory?
No.
So the red car theory, if I asked you, hey Rima, how many red cars did you see today? You're probably like, I don't know.
Three.
But if I tell you, Rima, I'll give you $50 for every red car you see today, your brain, even if you don't care about the $50, you're going to be just scanning for the red cars because your brain's automatically looking for it. And so it's the same thing with this, is the kids will start to be like, I knew it. I knew that I'm looking for reasons that it's my fault, that I did something horrible to shame the family. So when the parent responds that way, the child is likely to shut down,
Okay.
to completely disconnect, to not want to share anymore. And it goes back to our original discussion we had a few minutes ago, which is It depends on the relationship that you build with your kids. There's this thing called the circle of security framework, and one of my biggest goals in this life and this in the work I'm doing is to share that and put it in prenatal care in the hospitals and everywhere, because I want parents to know that the best way that you can provide for your kid is to be able to create an environment of safety for them. And that framework is very simple. It's very simple things, Rima. It's like, welcome my coming to you. Help me express my feelings. Delight in me, right? It's like very simple things that
Got
we
it.
can do to create safety for our children.
Okay, and it's 1:35, so
Okay.
we want to remind the audience that the number to call, if you have any questions, is 949-824-1200. The number again is 949-824-1200, and Paul will let us know if there are people waiting online.
With any questions.
All right.
Or you might have gotten some, Paul. Did you get any?
Still waiting for somebody to come in here. Did we have another one through social media or no? Not that. Okay.
Okay.
Well, give us some patience. You know, we got to answer it, and we only have one line here, so if people all call in at once, you're going to get a busy signal.
All right. So, let's move from the crime itself to the trauma, right?
Okay.
We often hear about fight, flight, freeze, all
Yes.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes fawn, but people may not recognize these responses when they appear in everyday life. So they can look like, correct me if I'm wrong, people pleasing, hyper independence, shutting
Absolutely.
down, anger, I want to be perfect, difficulty trusting, controlling behavior,
Absolutely.
or an overwhelming need to keep everyone happy.
Yes.
I tend to do that sometimes. So the question to you, Dr. B, is, can you explain neuroception and how trauma changes the brain's perception of safety, touch on the visible ways trauma shapes our choices,
Absolutely.
relationships, and identity? What gives people hope after years of feeling stuck in a cycle of hurt and anger and shame?
Yeah. That's all really good. I'm gonna like clump it all together. Basically, I want to
Yes,
say
give us your dissertation in 2 minutes.
and 2 seconds. That's hilarious.
Or 1 minute.
All right, I get 1
30
minute.
seconds.
Okay, so let's start with survival mode in the brain.
Okay.
Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is the one that gets the least amount of attention. Everyone knows flight, you become an avoidant. Everyone knows fight, which is becoming more aggressive. Everyone knows freeze, which is like the person who has a hard time getting up every day, and just kind of gets in freeze mode in their life. But fawn in adulthood is my favorite way to define that is appeasing the threat to stay safe. So if you had to
Say that again.
appease the threat to stay safe.
Okay, explain that.
Like as a kid, if you had to always walk on eggshells in your
Right.
home and you had to appease your parent because you were afraid of their reaction or you had a raging parent, then in adulthood, that turns to people pleasing. That turns to always wanting to be a perfectionist or wanting to please. So the fawn stage of the survival mode in our mind is the people that just like either it was too quiet in their home or it was too much chaos. So they had to kind of be careful, right?
I see.
So that leads us to neuroception. So neuroception is basically our threat detector, right? Before we get logic and reason, when we're really small, we come out with great intuition, which is basically our neuroception, our ability to feel threat or safety. So when our neuroception is constantly looking for threat, right? We kind of distrust ourselves growing up, right? Our neuroception is off. We tend to look more for threat and we think everything is threatening. So it keeps us from being functional every day and living our normal life. So it keeps us stuck in a cycle. Everyday functioning becomes hard. I don't want to do that. I can't do that. We start making limitations in our life because everything feels overwhelming. You're in survival mode, right? And so I teach people how to get out of survival mode, how to get out of that cycle. And
How long does it take?
how it depends, right? So I love my neuromemory modification trauma therapy because I got certified in every type of therapy modality there is. And I think that it takes time. It does take time. It can take months, it can take a year. We can't put a like time frame on it. But what you have to do is deal with all the skeletons in the closet of your mind. All the people who've wronged and hurt you, clear out all of your past. I believe
So how do I know who wronged and hurt me?
because we do what I call a life review.
Okay.
You know how our life sometimes, our past is like a picture, like a still picture. And there's random things in there, like, you know, from your childhood, from your adulthood, a home you grew up in, and, you know, whatever. But our brain remembers it that way and it's fragmented. So what I like to do with people when I first start working with them is we do a life review and press the play button on every chapter of their life. So you can say, what are the things that happened during that time period? And who are the people that were connected to it? What are the things I told myself? And who are the people that contributed to me feeling that way?
Oh boy.
And then we find two important things in that process.
Do we really want to go there?
Yeah, we do. Because you have to clear the past to be present, right? And then you find, through that process, you find your deepest emotional wounds and we find the skeletons in the closet of your mind. And when we do that and clear the past, then you can be more present and you can plan your future. It opens up the gateway of visualization for your life.
Okay.
When you can start to visualize positive things for your future.
So thank you. We'll think about it.
Yes.
Right?
I'm trying to convince Rima to come do work with me.
All right. So, hey, if you want to see that, let me know. If you want me to go through that
Convince
program.
Rima, everybody. We need to get her to do this.
Right. So let me talk about something that connects directly to our work at Global Hope 365, which is grooming. Because people sometimes imagine a perpetrator simply appearing and threatening someone, that it's this stranger. But exploitation can involve manipulation, trust building, boundary testing, and the creation of emotional dependency. And with all the calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, they let us know that the top 2 recruiters are an intimate partner or a family member.
Wow.
Yes. And so let's talk about child marriage, for example, because as you know, Global Hope 365 is about ending harmful practices towards women and girls, such as child marriage, human trafficking, and other forms of gender-based violence. Let's look at the figures of child marriage, and you can imagine the trauma. So 850 million women and girls that are alive today were married before the age of 18.
Wow.
12 million girls annually get married before the age of 18.
Wow.
Globally. Every year. And in the U.S., we had 315,000 girls that were married between 2000 and 2021, 315,000. But they're mostly young girls married to adult men.
Yes.
Take this example, 13 to 38, and she was a victim of rape and molestation and became pregnant. 14 and 40, 16 and 26. So, I mean, and there's still 3 states here in the U.S. that has 0 minimum age, including California, which is extremely shocking because you think it happens in third world countries.
Yeah.
So how does a perpetrator create a relationship or even a trauma story that makes this victim feel emotionally connected, dependent, and responsible?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I want to just say that
I love it. Every question I asked you, you said it was a great question.
It's a great. You got some good stuff, Rima. That's what makes us good co-host. But like, first of all, I want to commend you for the work you're doing at Global Hope 365 because we want to bring these stories up and these situations and to realize it's not just happening globally, but it's happening right here in our backyard, and that there's over 300,000 cases in the U.S. alone.
315,000.
Wow, that's astonishing that we're doing that to our young girls, knowing all the research and being in the good U.S. of A. Right.
Right.
And so I commend you.
60,000 of those 315,000 were a sex crime. Just want to
Wow.
point that out because it's
Right.
statutory rape because of the age differential.
Right. And then somehow, because of the deep-rooted shame on the family, they coerce them into marriage,
Right.
which is awful, right? We're going to have some more time to really flesh that out because I think it's so important. But the question you asked me is so good because you talked about trauma stories and how perpetrators will create trauma stories to bond with the victims and to trauma bond with them, right? So if the child says, you know, my parents fight a lot, they may create a trauma story that says, well, yeah, I grew up with that too, and my parents fight a lot too, or I've experienced that, or I lived in that town, to create connection because that's what will get that's what will build trust and that you know coercion. And you talked about grooming
Yes.
too. It's a form of grooming to create a trauma story to bond with them.
Okay, I have a
Yeah.
question before we end this.
Yeah.
Because we talked about the victim, the survivor,
Yes.
the child, the teen. But some parents may think, how did I miss this? Right? The child may think, I've destroyed my family.
Yes.
Parents may become angry and can become angry because they're terrified that this has happened to their child. Sibling can be affected as well. So how does the trauma move through a family system? Can we say it? We only have a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And then we have to end this very lovely, thank you so much for all the information, podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, so can you talk to us about this before we end it?
Yeah, I think that, you know, it moves through the entire family unit because the kid feels shame for getting themselves in that situation, right? The family feels shame of how could that happen to us?
How did we miss it?
How did we miss it? How did we not see it? And so it creates a lack of communication and disconnection in the family unit, and the trauma moves from the child to the parents to the whole family. Now it's a full-blown shame story on our whole family. What will our people think about this? Will our church? Will, you know, it becomes a bigger community issue. And so to that, I say we have to go back to that statement that you said earlier of what the parents can do to build trust and to help the child feel safe and secure now and to help them through the hardship. Yeah.
Let's go back to prevention because that's what we talk about
Yeah.
all the time, and that's our mission. So the parents should basically say, there's not to their kids, there's nothing you can tell me that will make me stop loving you or helping you.
Oh,
They
that
need-
warms my heart.
Right. They need to understand before anything happens that no matter what happens, they can come and talk to their parents.
Oh, my Rima, that literally warmed my heart because that is the most important statement a parent could ever say to their kid. It translates to unconditional positive regard, unconditional love. There's nothing that you can do that will ever make me change my mind about you. I love you the same. It is the deepest need that we have as human beings is to
Right.
have unconditional positive regard. And if parents get that one thing right, literally your child will be okay because that's what we need. We need to know that we're okay, that we're safe. It creates so many positive aspects in the brain and equilibrium when we do that. So read that statement again because it's so beautiful and we want parents to remember it.
Yeah, and we want to end with it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if a parent, not if, when a parent
Yes.
takes time and says to their kids,
Yes.
there's nothing you can tell me that will make me stop loving you or helping you.
That's right.
That's the basis. It's a very, very succinct, short statement,
Yes.
but the impact is just phenomenal. So I
Yes.
hope that every parent and child who's listening to us understands that prevention will prevent any of the kids or the adults going through their trauma or the family as a whole. Thank you so much, Dr. B, for
Absolutely.
all this information. And I'm still, debating about this
Let's get her, people.
skeleton and the what?
Skeletons in the closet of our mind.
Yeah.
Neural memory modification trauma therapy.
Right. So thank you. I'm Rimanesh Shivi, founder and president of Global Hope 365.
And I'm Dr. Stara Borska, CEO and founder of Teach, Train, Transform International.
And it's our podcast From Trauma to Hope. Thank you so much for
thank
listening.
you for listening. See you next time.
Wow, if that doesn't give you reason to come back, I don't know what will. A powerful conversation, today's episode, From Trauma to Hope, a podcast about prevention, trauma, and healing lives. All that and more right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.